There was a man that was given a house by a railroad track. He was told that you could have this house free of rent. All you had is one job. Just one job. And that is that every night at midnight, you will take a lantern and you will go down to the tracks at midnight and wave your lantern. Because when the Midnight Express comes through, we want to make sure no cars or individuals get stuck on the track. And so at midnight, you warn them that the train is coming. Wave your lantern. And he did it faithfully. Matter of fact, the town people rewarded him because during his watch, nobody died. For the next couple years, it was perfect. One night, his wife made a wonderful meal for him. It was his birthday. He enjoyed the meal, and she had a piece of pie and asked him if he wanted seconds. 11 o'clock at night, he felt he had plenty of time. She said, hey, take a little nap. You have plenty of time before you need to go. He took his little nap and woke up, and she said, would you like a little hot chocolate? It's cold outside. And he started sipping on that, and he looked at the clock, and he started rationalizing how much time he needs to make it to the track. And so finally, it was 5 minutes to 12. He has his jacket on, shoes on. He runs out to the track, but he could hear a group of teenagers in a car coming. And he's waving his lantern, trying to get their attention. But they wouldn't stop. As they came over the track, the Midnight Express crashed right into him and killed all 4 teenagers. An investigation was done. They were brought before the judge. He was brought before the judge, and he was asked, did you do your job? He says, yes. Did you wave your lantern? He says, yes, I waved my lantern. And the judge acquitted him and said, you're innocent. We won't find you guilty of murder. He went home in tears and in sadness. His wife said, this should be the happiest day of your life. You did what you said you were doing. And he turned around and he said to his wife, the reason why I'm sad is, yes, I told the truth. I did wave my lantern, but it wasn't lit. Many young people today are waving an unlit lantern. And you will be responsible for those that you could have warned by the light that has been given to you, but you chose not to. That needs to stop. That needs to stop. It needs to stop that when the Sabbath hours are over, all of a sudden you put away spiritual things. You need to have a spiritual mindset, not just during the Sabbath hours, a 24-hour period of time. But you need to have this spiritual mind 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. Because for many of you, you are the only influence between a friend that will end up staying in the arms of hell rather than being removed and placed in the arms of eternity. And I'm telling you, young people, today, we need more young people that are in fire for Jesus Christ. We need more young people whose light is shining brightly, regardless of what people are going to say. Yes, they're going to say all sorts of things against you. They will make fun of you. They'll say this and say that. But I will promise you this. When they say it, rejoice and be exceedingly glad. For great is your reward in heaven. There is time past prophets that have done just that. And their reward is great. You will stand in a hall of mighty men and mighty women. Don't let that shine. Don't let that light go out. Keep it burning bright. One day you will find hundreds of people that will come up to you on a golden street and say, thank you. If it wasn't for you shining your light, I would not be here today. Let your light shine. Another thing about light is its comfort. My daughter, when she was younger, even sometimes today, when I go in and tuck her in at night and I decide to turn the light off, she says, many parents know this, Daddy, can you keep the light on? It brings comfort, doesn't it? Being in the light brings you comfort. The only thing that makes me confused about that, I remember when she was real small, she'd always say, Daddy, keep the light on. So I kept the light on. And somehow in the middle of the night, she was able to wiggle between me and my wife. And she'd be right there, and she was like, Daddy, you're crushing me. And I didn't even know she was there. And I'm like, what are you doing? And I like sleeping in dark. I'm like, what are you doing? She goes, I'm scared. I said, sweetie, your light's on in your room. She goes, but I feel safer in here. I said, but there's no light in here. And you know what she says? But Daddy, you're here. Even in the darkness, when you know who the real light is, no matter how dark it is, if you know your daddy's there, things are okay. Things are okay. Another thing the light does is that it allows us to grow. It was a light that struck Saul to make him Paul. It was a light that came through, and we use light to be able to cut out the bad things in our life. But we also need light to grow like plants grow. And as you spend time with the Lord, as you spend time with the light of the world, you start to mature and become more like him. Do you remember Moses? He spent more time with the Lord, and people started to get scared of him because his face started to glow. As he spent time with the Lord, it started to glow. Do we glow because of the experience that we spend with the Lord each day? Or do we tend to reflect another light? You know, it's a struggle when you reflect other lights, whether it's a blue light that sits in our living room, whether it's a neon light of the city life, or maybe a dark black light. You will reflect the light you choose to stand in. And if you stand in the presence of a living God, if you stand in the presence of the living Jesus Christ, you will reflect him. Things will change and things will happen. Ellen White says it this way: what do you reflect to an ungodly world? Do you reflect a consistent life? Do you reflect holy conversations? Do you reflect unswavering integrity? Do you reflect an active, benevolent spirit? Do you reflect that of being a godly example to all those you are around? What do you reflect? You are the light of the world. You are the light of the world. Not just you or you or you. You. Because if you look at the tense, the you that Jesus describes, plural, not singular. And just like light in abundance is what makes that change the world, it goes into the darkness, so are you. You're that light. There's a story that I remember reading several years ago. And what amazed me about the story is that it describes so well who we are in salt and in light. There's a place on the island of Crete. And on this island, it was known for the fact that during World War II, the German soldiers came in, and the farmers during that time took out their kitchen knives and scythes that they would use for cutting down hay, and went after these German soldiers and killed them all. Hitler at that time was not very pleased that his SS troops were being slaughtered and decided to send a large force down there to teach them a lesson. And in doing so, they took these villagers, they took them up on the top of a hill and with machine guns mowed them all down. It was in the same time that a man named Alexander Papadopoulos also lived as a little boy. And as a little boy, he saw war and he saw the anger between the Croatians and the Germans. He remembers waking up one morning after a bombing and he saw a motorcycle, at least the remains of one. He walked up to it and he was sitting there looking at it. He saw a mirror and he tried to piece all the mirrors together. But he couldn't. But he found a larger piece and he scraped it together. It's interesting because during this time, he noticed that in scraping it together, he would play with it and shine it in interesting places. Alexander also created on that same island a place that was known an Institute for Peace.